Welcome to another amazing episode of Lotus Arising. We're arising, breathing in the good smells and the aromas. We're here with Jatnna, Alvarez. Hello.
Hello, this tea smells amazing. Like, I can just, from here, I want to, chug the whole cup, but that's not how you drink tea. It smells so good.
I know, I want to too. But quickly, introduce yourself. Let us know.
So my name is Jatnna Alvarez, born and raised in South Florida, Miami. Dominican, studied meteorology, mostly focused most of my life in the academics. I pretty much spent all my time trying to help those around me, trying to listen to those around me. People call me up all the time to tell me all their troubles, and that's pretty much what I do. Academics and a little bit of spiritual work here and there.
Wonderful. We love spiritual work.
Yes.
And with spiritual work, there's experience and where you've been and what experiences made you and shaped you to be who you are. So with that being said, I'm curious, where did you grow up and where have you traveled to? Have you traveled for business or pleasure?
So most of my traveling has been for pleasure. I think my favorite traveling experience was when I went to Lebanon in 2011. I spent 3 months there, and there it was a little bit not business, but some academics. I did a project there on socioeconomic perspective of organic and sustainability. So I spoke to farmers there as well as members of the public, and I asked them what they feel about sustainable food and organic food. What do they think the farmers think about it? And it was really interesting. In short, the public, they said the farmers want to stay in their mind in the past. The farmers don't want to change. So the public thought that the reason that things weren't moving forward in sustainability was because of the farmers. Every single farmer that I spoke to was happy to do whatever they needed to do. They were like, yeah, whatever the public wants, we'll do it. They would take their crops, anything that had diseases, they would take it to the research station, to the Lebanese Agricultural Research Station, and sell them, hey, what is this? What's the best way to deal with this? And if people don't want chemicals, they'll do whatever it is that the public wants them to do. So it was really interesting to see that disconnect between them. But pretty much all of my traveling has been for pleasure. I've been to Canada. I spent about 7 months in Canada. I've been to up along the East Coast. I spent some time in California, the West Coast, a little bit of time. I visited Colorado.
I feel those vibes already, I could tell.
Colorado was beautiful. Keystone. I would just cry looking at the mountains. Not even say anything, just the tear.
Girl, I feel you. West Coast has my heart. Yes. Totally.
Yes.
But so when did you graduate from? It was FIU, Florida International.
Yes, Florida International University. I studied meteorology there, specifically geosciences, atmospheric sciences. In 2015, I graduated from there. And I spent 5 years there. I studied, like I said, meteorology, but I also studied sustainable agriculture. All 5 years there, I was a part of the agroecology program, where I was a multicultural scholar. That was the name of the scholarship I was on, funded by the USDA. Thank you,
wow.
USDA.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. And through them, I learned so much. Not just how to grow food sustainably, but everything that comes around it, food safety, the way that the planet as a whole wastes 40% of the food that we produce.
Wow. So
whenever big companies say the reason we should genetically modify food is so that we can produce more food, that doesn't make sense. We already waste 40% of the food that we produce. So it makes no sense to try to have higher yields. I mean, I understand wanting higher yields, but the disconnect there is we need to restructure the way we disperse our food and the way we we waste so much of it. Food just goes to waste.
a wasteful land.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah. No, but even as a whole,
but you're
entire
bringing that awareness back to people.
Yes.
Which is important. I think it's extremely important.
Absolutely.
And when did you graduate from the Robert Morgan Education Center?
Mm-hmm.
What were you studying there?
So that was actually high school. I studied veterinary sciences there. So as a part of my high school diploma, I not only had my regular high school diploma, but I got a certificate as a vet tech. So, because I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian, and it was a great experience. I learned so much. I came out ready to go be a vet tech, but it turns out I couldn't handle seeing animals suffer, like the animals that wouldn't make it.
Yeah.
And I knew that that was going to be a part of it. It's going to happen. You can't save them all. We can try it to our best, but you can't save them all, and I couldn't handle it. So I was happy I did that because I realized it wasn't for me. I still love animals with all my heart. I trained a macaw. I trained different kinds of animals, and I loved it, but it's not for me moving forward.
That's amazing that you went out and experienced that and decided for yourself that that wasn't the path for you. I just think so many people are so focused on making that their path, that one path that they don't see being anything else. And even if maybe they're not too content there, or maybe their mother or father or somebody else wanted them to do it, they feel the need to do it. But you actually went out and tried it and knew that in your heart it wasn't really resonating fully with you, so that education was something that you wanted to do.
It was hard for me to admit it to myself. I thought all this time, from the beginning, 2006, when I started high school, I knew I want to be a vet, I want to be a veterinarian. And I would declare it, and by the time that I was done and I had my vet tech certificate and ready to do it, I was like, I can't handle the animals that I can't save. I was too sensitive. I would cry every time, and I was like, I can't handle crying every time. I can't do this. So it was tough, but yeah, I had to kind of be realistic with myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't quite think I wanted to do education quite yet when I was there. I thought I then wanted to just be a scientist. I was like, I want to be in a lab, 100%.
With the glasses and the coat and everything.
Literally. NCIS, I wanted to be Abby from NCIS, but then later I kind of realized just being in a lab wasn't for me either.
That's amazing. And I would like to know, I'm curious, we'd all like to know, how long have you been teaching?
Not very long, less than 2 years. I started teaching kids online, actually. When I first started, I would tutor on the side, tutor kids mostly in mathematics and science. And then I started teaching kids in China through VIP Kid.
So that's what you were just doing?
Yeah, right before this, I had a little tutoring session. And that's a blast. I love it. Every single, because you smile the whole time. I say you have to smile, but you get to smile. You get to speak to little children on the other side of this planet, and it is a blessing. I love that job. It is so
You're
fun.
a blessing. We're just so happy to have you here. And the fact that you do so much for children and all types of students all over the world is very heartwarming, and it opens us up to different perspectives, that it's something that we want to do here. Doesn't have to just be done here. And even if we can't physically go there, we can still help people over there.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
So I was teaching with VIP Kid, and then I started, when I noticed how much I liked that, a dear friend of mine, Katrina, she noticed the way I was speaking, how I wanted to be fulfilled. I wasn't feeling the passion through some of the other things I was doing. I was a plant purchasing agent for another company. And as much as I love plants, because I did spend, again, through FIU, the sustainability, I became a garden manager for some time, and I learned how much I love gardening. I was like, okay, a job where I get to be in an office, and I get to be corporate, and talk about plants, that's perfect. No, not perfect. That wasn't it for me either.
Yeah.
I was not fulfilled. I was getting kind of sad that I wasn't there. Working an 8-hour shift just to produce money for a company, and going home, it's like, where did the last 8 hours of my day go? Like, I had fun. I would have fun when I was there, but I wasn't fulfilled. So my friend Katrina, she was like, you should just come and volunteer. Because growing up, the reason I could study meteorology wasn't just because I was some genius who's like super great at math. No, I had a lot of support.
Yeah.
Not only the support, the loving support from my parents and that whole, my sisters, but my sister would tutor me anytime I needed some help with mathematics. I always had access to free tutoring everywhere. I never had to pay for tutoring. So it was important to me. Like, the reason that I could make it was because of all the support I had. And talking about these things, Katrina was like, you should come volunteer at My Life, My Power. I was like, what is that? My Life, My Power.
I want to know a little bit more about this, My Life, My Power.
Yes. So My Life, My Power International Preparatory Academy is a high school system. It's a different kind of high school system. It's a private school, but when you say private school, you think like
uniforms and Catholic.
Yeah, that's what people think. They're like, oh, snooty, you gotta have money.
Mm-hmm.
No. My Life, My Power specifically focuses on the kids that are having trouble, the kids that are not making it in the regular public system. So at first I just went and volunteered my free time to support and to tutor the kids. And they liked it. They liked me, the kids liked me, the teachers liked me, the CEO and director, the dean liked me, so they hired me, they trained me, and what's so different about My Life, My Power is that we focus 100% on building the human. Academics, of course, is important, but we focus on building the human, and we work one-on-one with these kids on what they need. If a kid, of course, we want all of them to, go to college, but some of them, realistically, if they look me in the face and they say, "Miss, I'm not gonna go to college," like that, I try to not encourage that kind of language. I say, you don't say you're not going to, maybe you're not going to right now.
Yeah.
Maybe not yet, maybe now that's not the path for you, but maybe eventually, you can get there. What do you want to do? You want to go get a job? Okay, let's talk about maybe trade school. Maybe there's some kind of training.
Choose a vocational school until
exactly.
the meantime.
So we work one-on-one with them on building the human. So all of the teachers, everybody involved in the school system is trained every few months on emotion management and managing your state of mind. And we implement these things in the school. 1 day a week, we stop everything we're doing, we stop curriculum to just focus on building the human, on vocational resources. And we partnered up with, I won't say it explicitly, but we partnered up with different resources to help these kids get jobs and to help these kids get trained and explore different outlets. So it's a lot of fun.
That's really wonderful.
I love my job every single day.
And what types of subjects do you teach?
So the way that My Life, My Power works is very individualized. So I teach a little bit of everything. So I teach some mathematics, I teach some science, I teach some history. It's kind of, the kids kind of take charge on their own because it's a system where they work one-on-one through, with personal tutors.
Mm-hmm.
So I hop in to help them depending on what they really need help on. If they're good on the history and they mostly need help with math, I help them with the math. If they're great with math but they need help with the history or the reading or with the essay writing, I help them there. But I specifically teach a little bit of everything, like I said. So it's a part of our curriculum to talk about job readiness. It's a part of our curriculum to talk about college readiness, social emotional learning specifically related to family. So if we talk about managing our emotions, but related to our family, how do you manage your emotions when you're around your mom and your dad? If you don't have a mom and your dad, do you have siblings? How do you interact with them? Do you even speak to your family members? So it's actually a part of my curriculum to teach these things,
wow,
as well as the math and the science.
So it's almost like psychology and combined with all of it.
And that's why we consistently get trained. We consistently are getting trained on these things. It's not just like, let me read it online and let me show it to them. We as teachers are consistently trained on these things to teach it to them. On paper, I'm a math teacher. On paper, I'm a math teacher. But like I said, a little bit of
life, you're everything.
A little bit of everything.
Worldwide, knowledgeable, inspirational, motivational teacher.
Something like that. I do a little bit of everything. I help the kids I meet them where they're at. Some kids, for example, I have one student that doesn't have the ability to really come to school very much. We have him on a scholarship that allows that flexibility. He can work from home, but he kind of lives in a little wooden shack. So I drive to his house and I tutor him in his home. And he's looked me in the eyes, and his parents have looked me in the eyes and said they've never had somebody really take them that seriously, have that much belief.
That is such a beautiful
they're like, you don't have to come out and do this. And you're like, I don't, but I believe in your child.
So you're going out of your way with your heart and your soul, and it's not about money and it's not about pride. It's about the love and the dedication for teaching the child and showing them how much you care for their education. And I think that alone inspires them so much to want to excel and to want to do better. And I believe that if the world had more teachers as yourself that were really going out of their way above and beyond to make that connection with each individual and each child or each student, that we would see more successful statistics of children or people going to college and getting better jobs. So you're changing the world.
Hey, but let me tell you, it has everything to do with what I'm prepared and what I'm equipped with. My trainers at the school, at My Life, My Power, my fellow teachers, my dean, the CEO and founder, they have systems put in place to equip us with what we need. Like I said, we must teach, we must practice what we preach 100%. We are routinely trained on making sure that we behave in accordance with what we're preaching. You know, if a child is frustrated in class and curses, I must be conscientious of how I respond to it.
Of course.
I must be very conscientious of how I respond to absolutely everything, and it's even changed my life.
Yeah.
I noticed, for example, something super simple. We stay away from language like I have to do something. We say we get to do something.
Yeah.
And I notice as I move about my life, if I ever say I have to do this, I correct myself, I get to do this. And I think about, I immediately then connect it to how many other people would love to do what I'm about to say I have to do. But I get to do it. I have to wake up and go to work. I get to wake up and go to work. I get. How many people must stay at home? You know, and sure, maybe staying at home is a blessing, but I get to do something that I love. So.
Yeah, I think that's so important to change your vocabulary, and I learned that in going to Paul Mitchell. Is like, we don't have clients, we have guests, and we call them guests, and we want to make them feel special and feel welcome, and it's not like we're just here to just only care about your money and take your money, but you are our guests. We are welcoming you in it's our home. So I think it's a beautiful thing that you're doing that, to change the vocabulary and to remind yourself to do that, because within doing that, you're being aware and bringing yourself back to the present moment, like Lotus, like tea, like tea. And speaking of tea,
yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Love you, surprising. Thank you for being here. It's inspiring.
It smells so good.
It does. And
it tastes even better than it smells.
it does taste amazing. And where would you like to teach, or like see yourself teaching?
I definitely see myself moving around. I see myself one day having my own school, where I can work one-on-one with parents, where parents are not afraid to come into the school and be themselves.
Yeah.
Too often I hear parents say that they feel like they have to fake it,
Yeah.
they can't be themselves. I want parents to be able to be open, and at My Life, My Power, they get to.
Yeah.
They definitely get to be themselves, but I see myself not only having my own school where I'm there day to day, but eventually I would love to work something out where I can maybe go to different states or different countries.
Possibly Maine, Todd, Caribbean, Maine.
Let's take a trip to Maine. Let's
Shout
check it
out to
out.
Todd. We're actually in the process of building a Warlock, a Montessori, natural solar power, energy, wellness facility with like agricultural farmland and just everything completely natural, where we would love to have an education.
That sounds
leader
like a
as
dream.
yourself. And
Is it like live in? Like people can live there?
yeah, they can live there.
Okay, I'm coming.
It's
Like,
established.
I'm coming. I'm moving over. Sorry, mom. Like, bye. Like, my whole family's down here, but like, no, my whole family actually knows that I speak often of, you know, I love you guys, but I'm gonna be going off
You
somewhere.
have to go.
I'm gonna be, because every time I've traveled, every time I've gone somewhere else, there's just, I always learn something.
What's your sign again?
I'm a Cancer.
Cancer.
I'm a Cancer. Nurturers. We're
Nurturing.
nurturers,
Very
so
nurturing. Yeah.
It is automatic for me, and I feel more correct and happy with myself when I nurture, when I give. If I hold off from giving, I feel wrong.
Like a part of yourself is missing.
I
It's not
feel
there
wrong.
fully.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like I'm being true to myself. So it's very easy for me to do that. Even for example with the VIP kid, where I teach kids online, it's a part of it to smile the whole time. Hello, my name is, we have we get to be that way, and that's natural for me. I have no problem. It's not for everyone at all, but and even at My Life, My Power, like I said, we must be conscientious of the type of energy that we project, but we must also exact discipline. We definitely must exact discipline, because some of these kids don't have discipline at home. And at first, when I first started teaching, I was afraid to discipline. I was, I don't want to say afraid, but I didn't want the kids to not like me. I wanted to be loving. I wanted to be the sweet one.
Yeah.
But once I learned how to balance the sweetness and the discipline,
Time and
benefit.
place.
Yes, time and place, and they benefit.
Yeah.
They started respecting me more, and they started asking for me even more once I learned how to draw the line
a little bit. Yeah.
Definitely, I love it.
And what inspires you the most to learn, work, grow, help your students?
Honestly, back to when I mentioned the support that I had, my sisters growing up, any time I needed help, whether it was with math, a science project, down to in kindergarten, I was having trouble learning to read. In kindergarten and first grade, my sisters, they would take turns, they would sit down with me and read with me, and read to me, and get me to read, and I 100% always had support. I never felt alone, and it's not fair to me when kids nowadays feel alone.
Yeah.
You know, my parents had a little bit of a language barrier, so they couldn't help me with my homework, and I can't imagine not having my sisters at that time. So it drives me crazy to think that there are kids, and to see, not just think, but to see that there are kids that don't have any form of support at home. So when they come to school, we're it. We are the support. We make a huge difference in these kids' lives. The time that they spend with us changes everything in the way they behave at home and the decisions that they make on the weekends when they're not around. Some parents let these kids do as they please, and
it's not benefiting the kid in any way.
I've had kids straight up tell me, Miss, when you told me about, because we talk about, for example, we talk about science and hormones and how that affects our behavior, and I talk to them about how when we're addicted to doing certain things, it's because of dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin releases in our brain. Every time you do something you like, every time you laugh from something funny happening in a movie, every time you go running, you're releasing a little bit of oxytocin, a little bit of dopamine. So we talk about these things with the kids, and I've had kids tell me, Miss, this weekend, some friends of mine were, smoking weed, and I kind of wanted to smoke weed, but you told me about how maybe I should wait till I'm older and do it legally, because that's what I'm straight up with them. I tell them, guys, I know that it's the cool thing to do. Everybody's doing it. But first of all, wait till you're above the age of 25. I know it sounds unrealistic. But it's science. Your brain is still developing until you're 25 years old. And this is what I tell them. You're stunting the growth of your brain. I'm not going to tell you what to do. All I can tell you is hold off until your brain has developed. And number two, do it legally. If that's really what you want to do, go get a medical marijuana license
or
card.
live in a state where it's recreational.
Exactly. Don't limit your possibilities, because when you do something that you could become addicted to, you could get arrested, and then there goes your possibilities. There goes some of your options.
Your record will break those options.
Exactly. So, and when they tell me, Miss, instead of going and smoking the weed, I picked 3 of the, because I put up lists on the board. These are the top 10 ways to release oxytocin. These are the top 10 ways to release dopamine. Miss, I picked 3 of those things on the board. I went and did those things, and I felt better. And so when I know that I really impacted a child's ability to make that decision on their own when nobody was around to tell them what to do.
It's a huge thing. That's something their parents aren't even doing for them. So
and some of the parents even get mad when they hear that I say some of these things. They're like, you should just tell them not to do it. And I'm like, they're oppositionally defiant. When you tell them don't do it, they're going to want to go do it. So what I tell them is, when you're an adult, you can make your own decisions.
Of course.
If you want to go do that as an adult, go for it.
Of course.
What I'm telling you is, don't rush into those kind of decisions right now.
Completely.
Wait till your brain has developed, and you might even find that that's not the thing for you. You find other ways to release dopamine and oxytocin. Miss, but it releases stress. It's proven to release stress. Well, here are 30 other ways to release stress. You're gonna tell me it's the only way to release stress? And they stay quiet. They're like, you're right, Miss.
Meditation, yoga, bike riding, movies,
all kinds of
reading.
things.
I mean, so many different things.
Funny enough, on that list, the top 10 ways to release oxytocin, on that list is using social media. Now, I'm not saying go use social media to
all
feel
day
better,
long,
but it tells you something. Why are we so addicted to using social media? Because it's an easy way. You don't even have to move. Just open up your phone. It's an easy way to get a quick dose of oxytocin.
We're doing it right now.
Yeah. So sometimes I tell them, if you feel like you're addicted to anything, in that moment that you want to do it, try not to just think, let me not do it. Instead, think, let me do this thing instead that releases some oxytocin. You can
replace it with something.
You can go for even a 10-minute jog. If running is not for you, do a 10-minute workout, 15-minute workout.
Even
if you
power
have,
walk.
I tell them always pick 3 things from the list. Petting animals, that's part of that list. Sharing a meal with somebody is on that list. Telling somebody you love them is a part of that list. And they're easy things.
Yeah,
they're actually pretty easy.
That we don't even realize and think that could possibly potentially change our mood or our mindset.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And where do you see yourself within the next 5 to 10 years with everything you're doing?
I see myself, kind of like I mentioned before, having my own school, but if I could have a school where I could have kids growing their own food, using gardening as a stress relief, yes, but also focusing on the sciences as well. I studied meteorology. Right now, I'm putting together my application to go back for my master's. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'd like to incorporate that as well, because I know that I feel proud of myself, and some people have mentioned to me, you're not working in that field, was it a waste of time? Absolutely not. I enjoyed it. I had a great time doing it. It was stressful, but I
learned a lot.
That's why I'm continuing, because I want to continue. I'd like to get my doctorate eventually, and I'd like to incorporate those things into education as well. I'd like to see kids excited about gardening and growing their own food, and I'd like to see kids excited about learning about the atmosphere and why does a plane work the way, why does a plane float and a car stay on the ground? Understanding the way these things
work. Still feel excited about learning.
Yeah.
And not like it's a bore. It's like, well, let's learn. Yeah, and you give them that excitement. That's a beautiful, amazing thing. So happy and honored and just blessed to have you here. And it's just been such a pleasure. Just let our viewers know where they can contact you if they're interested in tutoring or they want to know more about your education system.
Definitely. One of the best places you can contact me is actually by email, ja@mylifepipa.org, which stands for My Life, My Power International Preparatory Academy. ja@mlmpi.org. If you want to get a taste of My Life, My Power without quite having your child out of the school system, if you don't want to make a drastic change like that, but you still want the benefit of some of the things that My Life, My Power has, we actually host an after-school program. I've been running an after-school program at Homestead Senior High for a while. Then we had a summer camp on our own premises. This school year, we're starting the after-school program on our own premises as well. So definitely email is actually the best place. You can contact me. I also do have social media. You can follow me on Instagram, through Facebook. But as far as school-related, getting your child involved with any other resources, because I can also help with vocational resources if you want your child to maybe even have a paid experience of what is it like to be a mechanic, just to, and they won't exactly put them to work, but find ways to have them help and see that experience. Or if your child wants to maybe get into gaming, if they want a job in the gaming, in the gaming industry, exactly, that's the word I was thinking of. If they want a job in the gaming industry, but they're not quite sure where to start, contact me. I can put them in contact with services, vocational resources that allow them to experience those things. So
wonderful, it's so exciting. You heard it here first, right now, on